Hi and welcome to Research Skills. This will be a series of videos that will help you learn to research better. Alright, so what is research? Research is searching for information. You can do research in many different ways and finding information and using different sources like books and the internet and that kind of thing. The key to it is that research is always looking for information to answer a question, or another word for question is inquiries or inquiries. This is an overview of what these sessions will be. First, we'll be looking at questions, finding the right questions that say drive your research. Then we'll look into planning research, okay? Looking at what kind of questions you need to ask, what sources you're going to use. We'll move on to finding credible information. So doing that, we're going to need to learn how to use keywords properly. We'll learn what Boolean searching is. We'll look at all the text features of both books and the internet. And we'll also look at critical thinking skills. After you've found information, well, how are you going to record your research? Okay, so we'll take a look at taking good notes and plagiarism, as well as doing a proper bibliography. All right, so let's get started with questions. As I said, research is about answering questions. The right questions are going to fuel your research. So they drive your research, they keep it focused, and having good questions will actually make your researching easier. When you are asking questions, you want to be specific. So what do you want to know? Be specific. So for an example, if we want to do some research on cougars, if you do research on cougars, you're going to come up with a lot of web pages that talk about the animal, the cougar, which is more than likely what you're looking for, but you're also going to find lots of different sports teams. The Cougars are a mascot for lots of colleges, universities, as well as a WHL hockey team close by in Prince George. So you need to be specific. When you type in your search query, you want to say Cougars animal. Or if you're looking for a hockey team, you do Cougars hockey. Also, like, what kind of things do you want to know? You need to be specific because you can't just type in cougars and try and find all the information that you want to find, because there's going to be lots of varied information that is not going to be useful for your research. So if you're specific and you want to find out about life expectancy or the range of a cougar, that kind of thing, when you type that in, you're going to find more specific information and it'll be much quicker. All right, so we're also going to look at two different kinds of questions. There are thick and thin questions. So thin questions are quick questions, so they're easy to find the answer to, usually a basic fact. So an example would be, what do cougars eat? Or how long is a cougar? Okay, these are thin questions. You can type that into the internet and you can get a quick, simple answer, one or two words or a small phrase, or a yes or no answer. Okay, so they're usually very quick. Examples of thin and quick questions, usually it's who, what, when, or where questions. Okay, these are facts. These are easy to answer questions. All right, thick or deep thinking questions. So these are questions that can't be simply answered. Okay, they typically will take lots of searching, and you're going to need to take information from multiple places to come up with a good answer. So when you have information from two different places, you're actually going to have to think some, right? A good example of a question like this would be, why is the population size of cougars changing? Okay, it's a why question, or how is the population size of cougars changing? These are bigger questions that you're not going to be able to just type into Google and get the exact answer. Okay, you're going to have to do some reading and find some different facts that you're going to have to put together to come up with an answer for that. Usually a thick question leads to more questions. So once you do find something of an answer or you find information for it, all it does is make you think of more questions. And that's the best part about research, is that when you have a big question, a good, thick, deep thinking question, it makes it easy, because as soon as you find an information for it, you're going to come up with more questions, and it just keeps going and going and snowballing, and keeps your research fun and exciting. The other piece about questions is when you're doing research, you really need to come up with a plan. Okay, so you need to think about your main topic question. You're going to start there. So, what big idea question do you have? What's your inquiry going to be about? Okay, so looking at our cougar example, are we looking at just cougars? No, I think you're going to want to come up with a better idea about that. So maybe cougars in BC, and think up of a main topic question about that. So are we thinking, are they a big predator? Like, where are they in the food chain? Are they a problem animal? Okay, like, why are there so many cougar attacks? That would be a big idea question. And from there, we're going to come up with lots of smaller idea questions that'll help focus our research. So, subtopics, if we're talking about cougar attacks, a question is, why do cougars attack people? What factors would contribute to having people and cougar interactions? How many incidences are there per year? Where are these things? These are small little subtopic questions that we can look at. So to help us with that, I've come up with a couple of graphic organizers. These are just basic idea worksheets that can help organize your thinking and plan your research. So if we look at the top right, we're looking at the research concept map. Teachers often will do this on a whiteboard. They'll write your main idea in the middle, and then you're just going to brainstorm ideas off of that. What kind of things are related to that. So in the middle, our main topic would be, why do cougars attack people? And then subtopics, we can look at human cougar interaction. We can look at number of incidences. We can look at, for another subtopic, where do these things happen? What can we do to stop it, right? And then under each of those subtopics, you come up with more bits of information or questions that are going to help focus and drive your research. Okay. If we look at the other sheet in the bottom left, this is just a question sheet. It has the big idea inquiry. That would be our main topic up at the top, and then just lots of subtopic questions. So if you're not so visual, you want it more linear, you could try it this way. You can just write down questions. Now, with this one, this is kind of neat if you want to organize later on for if you're doing a research paper and you're going to have to write out a report. You can take these questions and these subtopics, you can cut them out, put them onto a sheet of paper, and you can organize them, and that can help you organize your writing as well. So both of these templates are available using the URLs there. These URLs are attached to Dropbox, and you can download the templates there. They are case sensitive when you type them in, so be careful with that. You can use them if you like, or create your own kind of graphic organizer for planning. Okay, so but just keep in mind that using a plan for research is going to really help focus it. Otherwise, you jump onto the internet, you start typing in information, and you get thousands and thousands of web pages, and it doesn't, you're just combing through, you don't really know what you're looking for. It can be a real tough job. Okay, or you get distracted and you end up on Facebook or something like that. So having a plan that you can stick to will help make you more successful in your research. All right, so here's a quote about questions. The quality of a question is not judged by its complexity, but by the complexity of the thinking it provokes. So this quote is about the big idea, your main inquiry. Okay, it doesn't have to be a super complex written question that's really confusing. You can keep a very simple question, or why do cougars attack people? It can be a really good question if it provokes you to think a lot. So why do cougars attack people can lead into all sorts of other questions, right down to mental health of a cougar. There's lots of little things that it can do. So when you're looking at questions, it doesn't have to be a super confusing main idea question. It just has to be thought provoking. All right, so for research, we need sources to find information. When we're looking for things, there's tons of places to find information. Here's a list of things that I've come up with. You've got books, you can read nonfiction and even fiction books to find information. Magazines, there's lots of journalism articles out there where you can find information. Journals, now these, along with the academic online journals, these are more where a professor or a researcher or a scientist is going to write down information that they got from doing a study themselves. Okay, so these are academic. They're done by professionals. Internet search engines is going to be probably the most common place that most people start, especially for us since we're an online school. You may not have ready access to a library or to a university library, but you're going to use things like Google and Bing. Later on I'll show you a whole bunch of there's a ton of different search engines out there. Documentary movies are a great source of information. Sometimes they're entertaining, but it gives you, not just having to read, you also get visual information too, which is, it's really good for some people. Television shows will give you information that way too. And then finally, we got primary sources, and this is one that most people overlook when they're doing research. A primary source is like people. People are a primary source. So, if you're looking for information about cougars, a great primary source would be going and talking to a conservation officer or a hunter who's been out and seen them, okay, or a biologist who studies them. Okay, that's a primary source. You're going right to the source of the information. You're not reading it from where somebody else has written it, or watching a documentary movie where it's a third party person presenting the information. You're going right to the source of the information. Manuscripts are another good thing. Data collection and that kind of thing, a little bit more in depth, but that is considered a primary source. And the other thing is like nature. You can just, if I wouldn't recommend it, but if you want to study cougars yourself, you can just go out there and watch them. If it's probably better at our level that you don't go and do that, but if you want to watch hummingbirds, you can go out and just observe them, and that's a primary source of information, just watching them yourself. All right, so this brings us to an assignment. What I'd like you to do is use one of the graphic organizers I provided, or find your own, or create your own, and I'd like you to come up with a good research question and as many subtopic questions as you can think of without actually going to the internet and doing it. So, this is a plan just to kind of guide your research, and you should come up with obviously one main research question and at least 4 subtopic questions that are going to help guide how your research is going to take. Okay, now these graphic organizers are just a guide, and they're called a draft copy. And what that means is they're not written in stone. So when you come up with a first draft idea, a first main question, and 4 subtopic questions, when you actually start doing your research, you might find that your research questions aren't, or your subtopic questions maybe aren't the right kind of questions. So be open to changing your questions. That's not a problem to do, okay? But when you first start planning, this is going to give you somewhere to start. You might even find that your main research question might not be a strong enough question, and you might find that maybe you find something more interesting that you want to research as you're looking into your topic, and be open to that, okay? Research and projects and this kind of learning is much more effective and fun if you're really interested in this topic. Okay, so go with your interests and go with your own ideas, and but don't be afraid to change. Okay, as I say, what I'd like you to do is use one of those graphic organizers or one of your own and come up with a research question and 4 subtopic questions. So the next V class is based on finding credible information. We're going to look at keywords, Boolean searching, text features, and critical thinking. So critical thinking skills are really, really necessary, especially when we're using the internet to search. We'll also look at some different search engines and stuff that we can go use to find information. All right, so thanks for watching this, and we'll see you next time.